My name's Dusty.
My name is Arlo.
Pardon our whittling. Every time we enter a new town, we take to whittling little sticks to hunt our dinner with. But
It's a nervous habit.
yep. But boy, do we have a mighty story for y'all tonight.
It's a fine yarn to spin. It's one of those yarns that's made up of smaller pieces of yarn about different things. We got a yarn
About danger,
yarn about
justice,
yarn about
good man,
yarn about
bad man.
yarn about
It's a yarn about a lot of
it's
things.
a yarn about a lot of things. Now some of these yarns might be scary for some of you folks, so best to close your eyes so you don't have to hear it. But what's that? No, you got something in your mouth there? What is this? Looks like we found the beginning of the yarn. Nah, it's a joke. This yarn truly begins a couple moons ago when Dusty and myself were traveling back from those gold hills in the West Dakotas. See, we were gold mining type, and after panhandling, getting as much as we could, we piled it on top of our horses, Buck and Daniels. You see, I ride Buck and my partner here rides Daniels.
Yes, sir.
Now, when that gold was piled sky high, we had gnawed out in the middle of the desert. But once we got there, we realized, well, we was lost.
Totally lost. I thought I had brought my handy pocket compass and affixed it to my belt like such.
Turns out it was only a picture of a compass and not the actual device.
So we was truly lost. And every time we get lost, Arlo, my partner, he starts getting something mighty nervous, and the nerves make the tiny little hunger devils inside his tummy start growling and rumbling around. And all of a sudden, he had eaten all our food in an hour. So for the next couple of weeks, we took to eating sand. And when there was no sand to be had,
Well, we just ate dirt.
and when there was no dirt,
We went right back to the sand.
until eventually weeks passed and we collapsed to starvation, tiptoeing the line between life and death.
And tiptoeing that line, a strange blackness fell over us like a dark cloak on our consciousness. We fell asleep, passed out there in the middle of that desert, trying to get our horses, Buck and Daniels, to pray to their strange horse gods to perhaps save us, but alas, we were alone.
Giant, big, vulture-like things were swooping around our bodies in giant concentric circles of such, and hungrily looking down on our white, tiny bodies like we was some alabaster dolls made of meat or flesh. And boy, we passed out after that. Eventually, I awoke many hours later to the sound of a rustling at my feet. And I looked up, and there was a shadowy figure pacing back and forth between two giant saguaros.
Those are cactuses, for those of you who don't know.
And he was a giant of a man, and I got nervous, so I poked my partner in the eye to wake him up so that he could watch too.
And with my one good eye, thanks to Dusty, I saw a strange shadowy figure that he seemed to be concerned about. Now, this man was dark. He was shadowy, as previously described. He was also a giant of a man. Some would say a bear of a man.
A bear of a man.
A bear of a man and a drifter of sorts. Type that stumbles on into town. Now, underneath his nose, he had a tiny, wiry mustache tucked right up there with little flecks of gold, and upon a closer inspection, it was actually literally made of wire and gold. In fact, he shone of gold with his luster his whole entire body. And as I noticed that, he noticed me noticing that, and he lumbered on over as if he was actually made of lumber, and he leaned down, looked at us mean in the eye, and growled something fierce.
Howdy.
He said, and we all introduced ourselves.
Now, some folks call me Flint Westry,
He mumbled.
and other folks call me Old Bones Jackson.
He shouted.
But you boys can call me the Drifter.
He whispered.
And with that, he took to riling us up some grub for dinner, and he hunted very well. He caught a jackalope and a jackrabbit, and brought along a fresh jack-o'-lantern. to eat with the whole ensemble. And during dinner, I noticed that Jake was, you know, he was feeling something he wanted to express some sort of gratitude to this man who had plucked our tiny bodies from the clutches of death. And so he pulled out from his pocket a tiny pocket guitar that was folded up, and he unfolded it, something he'd been carrying for 50 years. And he put it right on his little knee, or big knee.
Big one.
And he looked at me and we started to sing a little song. Mr. Drifter, can't you tell we saved you from certain hell?
Now here we are
Beneath the stars, playing songs on our guitars. I can tell that we are gonna be friends. Yes, I can tell that we're the best of friends. Mr. Drifter, can't you feel our love for you is strong as steel? Your Kojak rabbit was quite the meal. With all of us, there's no third wheel. I can tell that we are gonna be friends. Yes, I can tell that we're the best of friends. Mr. Drifter, you're our greatest friend.
We'll be with you
Until the very end.
And with that little ditty, we just mumbled off to sleep.
When we awoke, I opened my eyes to find we were surrounded by 5 million men.
My God! Well, now, Dusty, might not have been that many.
5,000 men.
5,000 men.
Armed to the tooth with many guns.
Now, they had 6 shooters on their hips. They had 8 shooters on their elbows, a rifle across each back, a cutlass strapped to each ankle, and tiny little pea shooters under each teeth. They was truly armed to the teeth.
And as we watched them wriggling around us, we saw that they all parted like the Red Sea, and lo and behold, old man Flint Bones Jenkins walked right through with 2 satchels of gold, our gold, in either hand, and he walked right up to us and he said, "Boys, we'll be taking this here gold, so you best be prepared to die." And I knew in that moment we was in quite a predicament, so I looked at Arlo, my partner, but I realized that to survive I had to look deep inside myself, and so I looked right around my heart where I keep all my courage and my strength and justice and all the other stuff that we had said, and I picked it all up and I used my right fist and I punched Mr. Drifter right in the face, and then I grabbed the man nearest me and held him up in the sky, and then I broke him over my one knee.
I don't know if any of you've ever seen what we're describing, but it is a fearful and awe-inspiring sight. Looking at my partner Dusty breaking a man over his knee, well, I found that same little heart pocket of courage, opened it up, grabbed as much as I could, and then quicker than Jackrabbit on hot skillet in the middle of July, I mustered up my strength, jumped up, saw a man near me, grabbed his mustache off, and I ate it. I just ate it.
I looked over at Arlo and he was busy shoving handfuls of mustaches into his mouth, as many as he could. And it powered me to fight stronger, so I was breaking men over my back, and we knew we had many hours ahead of us to fight, so we did.
This fight did go on for several long, grueling hours, till we found ourselves wading in a pseudo-sea of mustaches.
We was nothing more mustaches in mustaches.
Indeed. It appeared the battle was over. Several mustaches flew among us like a spring storm, but I saw that they had mostly settled. Except for one small patch of them. There was a ripple, like a fish swimming up current, and just mustaches. Now, I took caution in my partner Dusty about this.
I picked up a signal, which was a series of winks and giggles that he gave me, and I took my right hand, and like a bear, I reached down into that stream of hair and mustaches, and I grabbed up old man Mr. Drifter, held his wriggling body up to the sky, and he was covered in hair and stutch, and I motioned over to Arlo, and he came right over, and he looked at Mr. Drifter in the eyes, and he said,
"Mr. Drifter, you no good dirty rotten back Stephen double-crossing son of a beefsteak. If I ever catch you in this parts again, well, you best hope that your Lord above cuts you down before we find you." gold for Dusty and Arlo.
Oh, sir.
And I also knew that it's a terrible thing for a man to lose his mustache, but twice as embarrassing to lose just half. So I took my good hand, I tucked it right underneath his nose, and I pulled off half of that wiry gold critter.
Just half.
Tucked it into my breast pocket, proceeded to tie him to the largest saguaro around. Well, that was almost about the end of it.
When we left them there in the desert, we walked over to our horses, Buck and Daniels, who had been waiting patiently on the side. We saddled them up, and realizing we had about 4 hours until sunset, we proceeded to tell jokes and kick dirt and little rocks into the face of Mr. Drifter. Until we finally felt it was time to truly ride off into the sunset.
Well, that about does our yarn today, but when we ramble on back into town in about a month, well, we'd be glad to have another story to share with y'all.